Nearly 3 million years ago, before the fires of civilization burned and before words shaped the world, there walked a creature neither beast nor human, Australopithecus afarensis. One such being was Naru, a young male of his kind, whose journey would mark the first flicker of humanity's awakening. The savanna stretched endlessly under the pale sun. Acacia trees dotted the horizon, and herds of antelope grazed warily, always watching for the shadows that brought death. Lions, leopards, and the silent hunters of the sky. Naru and his small band lived between these dangers, balanced on a thin line between survival and extinction. Naru's tribe lived near a rocky escarpment where fruit trees and small caves provided shelter. Their world was ruled by instinct, hunger, fear, and reproduction. Yet deep inside Naru's chest, something stirred that went beyond instinct. A question, a thought. That morning, as he foraged near the water's edge, Naru noticed something unusual, a long stick caught between stones. One end stripped of bark by the current. He picked it up, feeling its weight and texture. His fingers curled around it with the kind of precision unseen in the animal kingdom. His opposable thumb and sensitive fingertips explored the smoothness of the wood. He could feel its potential, though he didn't yet know for what. He swung it gently. The air whistled. His tribe mates paid no attention, busy plucking berries or cracking nuts with stones. But Naru kept turning the stick, fascinated by the control his hands gave him. That was when he heard it. The growl. Across the water stood a leopard, its golden eyes fixed on him. It crouched low, ready to spring. Fear shot through Naru like lightning. His instinct screamed to run, yet his body froze. In that moment, his hand tightened around the stick. The leopard lunged. Naru swung, though it connected with the animal's jaw. Not enough to kill, but enough to surprise. The leopard snarled, staggered back, then pounced again. Naru hit once more, harder, fueled by panic and strength born from generations of survival. This time, the stick cracked against bone. The leopard turned and fled, wounded and confused. Naru stood trembling. The others had seen. They screeched, grunted, and jumped about, their sounds echoing through the trees. For the first time, Naru had not just survived, he had fought back. That evening, as the sun melted behind the hills, Naru sat apart from the group. His hand throbbed, but his mind replayed the moment over and over, how his grip had tightened, how the stick had become an extension of his arm. He didn't know it yet, but this was the birth of a tool and the first spark of imagination. The days that followed were different. Naru began to carry the stick wherever he went. He used it to knock down fruit from trees, to dig for roots, and to wave at snakes in the grass. The others watched curiously. Some imitated him clumsily. Others ignored him. But Naru was patient, not out of wisdom, but out of obsession. His fingers learned faster than his tribe's eyes could understand. His mother, Lyra, one of the oldest females, noticed his growing independence. She would grunt disapprovingly when he wandered off alone. But when she saw how he used the stick to reach honey from hollow logs without being stung, she began to follow him silently. She, too, began to learn. One day, while exploring near the cliffs, Naru found something else, a stone sharper than others, shaped like a thong. When he pressed it against a branch, it scraped and peeled the bark clean. He held it up to the light, turning it in his palm. There was a glint of understanding in his wide eyes. His dexterity was not just strength. It was the beginning of reason. But progress always comes at a cost. As the dry season deepened, water became scarce. Other tribes of hominins began to move into Naru's territory. They were stronger, more aggressive, and less patient. One morning, Naru's band found themselves face-to-face with a rival group at the river's edge. Both sides grunted and waved arms, their bodies stiff with threat. Rocks flew. A female screamed as she was struck. Naru, his heart pounding, felt the old stick in his hand. The memory of the leopard flashed before him. He raised the stick high and struck the ground. The sound echoed. He screamed, not in fear but in command. His tribe rallied behind him, emboldened by his defiance. When the rivals charged, Naru met the first of them with the sharpened stone he had tied to the end of his stick. It tore into flesh. The rivals shrieked and fell. The others hesitated. Blood meant danger. and fear spread faster than courage. They retreated, leaving Naru's group victorious. That night, under the first stars, Naru sat beside the river again, breathing hard. His hand shook. He had killed, but inside, a strange calmness grew. His tribe gathered close around him, touching his arms, making soft sounds of admiration. He had become something more than a forager. He was a protector, a leader. In that quiet darkness, the first ember of human consciousness glowed within him. Seasons passed. Naru's band thrived under his silent guidance. They began to gather stones more deliberately, to carry branches with purpose. They mimicked him, learning through action and repetition. Slowly, the rhythm of their lives changed. Less running, more thinking. Yet, nature was never kind for long. One day, thunder split the sky, and fire struck the dry grass. The plains erupted into chaos. Flames roared, animals fled, and smoke turned the sky black. Naru's group panicked, screaming as they ran toward the caves. But Naru paused. Through the fear, he saw something mesmerizing, the fire's light flickering, warm and alive. He reached toward it, but pulled back as the heat burned his skin. Still, he couldn't look away. The fire scared him, yet something deep inside told him it was important. Later, when the rain came and doused the flames, he found blackened sticks. He picked one up. The burnt tip left dark marks on a rock. He stared at the lines he made, fascinated. Perhaps, for the first time in Earth's history, someone had drawn. Years later, when Naru grew old, his fur grayed and his steps slowed. But his tribe was different now, their hands more skillful, their eyes more aware. They used sticks and stones as tools and weapons. They learned to communicate more clearly, not just with grunts, but with gestures and rhythms of sound. The gap between instinct and intelligence had begun to close. On his final morning, Naru sat by the river where he had first fought the leopard. His reflection shimmered in the water, part ape, part something new. He touched his hand to his chest and looked to the sky, perhaps searching for meaning beyond the hunt and hunger. He didn't find words, but he found peace. When he died, the others stayed beside him, silent for a long while. Some touched his face. Some sat still as if waiting. Something sacred had entered their world, an emotion no animal had ever felt before. Loss and memory. Centuries would turn to millennia. Naru's kind would evolve, from Australopithecus to Homo habilis, then Homo erectus, and finally Homo sapiens. The fire he once feared would warm cities. The stick he once swung would become the foundation of tools, weapons, and art. The thoughts that once flickered in his simple mind would grow into philosophy, science, and dreams of the stars. But it all began there, on the edge of the African plains, with one being who had human-like dexterity.